Hi, you're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel. Today a little bit different video setup here. Just want to talk about something I thought about yesterday while shooting the QY70 video. The disappearance of General MIDI devices in the last decade or so. Perhaps you know them, those General MIDI boxes. They ruled the scene in the 90s and yeah, General MIDI is a rule set for synthesizers, so you have a number of certain sounds and a number of certain commands that can be used by a synthesizer, all of that in order to faithfully recreate a piece of music that will be delivered to you on a floppy disk or something. General MIDI was introduced in the early 90s to ensure that you can play back music that will then sound roughly the same, no matter what device it's being played on. This was especially useful on early day home computers or personal computers when storage space for music or samples was rather limited on those floppy disks, so you can just include a tiny MIDI file which contained information about musical notes and the sound those notes should be played in, and then the computer could load that and just play it back on a sound card or on a sound canvas synthesizer. And from the beginning, this format was met with criticism by professional musicians, which thought that this would just put unnecessary boundaries on their creative freedom. Over the years, the General MIDI standard was revised several times, last time I think in the early 2000s, and yeah, with new sounds and new commands being added. Nowadays, General MIDI devices have gone completely out of style, and it's no wonder why, with all the specialized VST plugins and hardware synthesizers you can easily obtain, and compared to the power of a digital audio workstation running on your PC, tablet or phone, or the flexibility of a dedicated hardware synthesizer, General MIDI seems to be a very bad idea. As it's limiting you to a number of very cheesy standard sounds that will never fly in today's musical landscape. Will they? Despite all these points, the point of this video is that I think General MIDI devices can hold some benefit for your personal music creation process, and here are some points I gathered in order to underline my opinion. And if you disagree or agree with me, I hope we can have a nice discussion in the comments down below, and perhaps you can add some of the things you thought I didn't talk about here, or that you know and that you might want to add. Here we go. One, multi-timbrality and polyphony. Yeah, General MIDI devices usually are able to play a lot of notes and sounds simultaneously, and more recent devices will also provide fairly powerful effects units for global effects or per patch effects, and compared to the 1 to 8 voices of your specialized desktop synths, that's quite a lot to work with. And this can be used in many creative ways, for example sound layering. Also, in principle, one General MIDI box can substitute a lot of other specialized synths or plugins, which might be useful for using your specialized synth for specialized tasks. Reliability, yeah, that's important. Normally those General MIDI devices boot really quickly and they don't bug you with updates or crashes. Easy as that. Familiarity and accessibility. If you start using a General MIDI box, after some time you will know it inside out, and you know where each sound sits and how it sounds, and that makes it easy to actually focus on creating music instead of searching for sounds and designing them. As limited as those sounds may seem at first, they actually cater for a lot of different musical styles. If you want to create or plan some classical music arrangements, it's possible. If you want to do ambient, relaxing music, that's possible too. And if you want to create electronic dance music, definitely possible. And once your song is created, you can then go ahead, load it into a digital audio workstation, or connect your other synths and then replace the general MIDI sounds with more sophisticated ones. Yeah, and more flexible than you think. Most general MIDI devices are actually complete synthesizers. They are based on samples for sure, but they also provide you with filters, envelopes, LFOs, and all the other stuff you'd expect from a subtractive synth. There's a special set of commands which allows you to control these synthesizer features by MIDI-CC commands, and those commands are standardized. And this takes us directly to our next topic, the standardization not only of sounds, but of MIDI commands, which is quite important in my opinion. I have a standard worth sticking to. So for example, the General MIDI standard defines a set of MIDI control changes for the most common sound tweaking parameters, for example, as I already said, filter cutoff frequency, filter resonance, amplitude envelopes, LFOs, panning, effects, and so on. That's a good thing actually, because this used to be supported by a wide range of synthesizers. If you watched my last video, I set up my Korg NanoKontrol to actually work with those parameters, and what I'm going to do now is to connect this NanoKontrol to some of the synths I have here and see if they actually react in a proper way to these general MIDI commands. That could spare you some time in redefining your automation data in your tracks. Yeah, so there you have it, 5 ways general MIDI devices and the general MIDI standard might benefit your musical workflow. And there are a lot of great old general MIDI boxes out there, from the Roland MT32s of the late 80s, which kind of laid down the groundworks for the standard, up to, for example, the Yamaha MU2000, which is motif series in general MIDI form, providing some plug-in slots for expansion cards, so you can insert even more advanced synthesizer technology in there. And in modern devices I only found the Roland MC101, which seems to be a fully compatible device with a lot of hands-on controls, and it sounds really great and has 128 voices of polyphony, so that's a lot to work with. But it's also the only box I can think of at the moment, apart from those big workstations by Yamaha and Roland. So there you have it, some thoughts on General MIDI today and the specification and its usefulness and its relevance in the synthesizer hardware space. Do you know any more modern devices which are actual General MIDI devices? If you do, please note them in the comments below. And if you have some criticism or more information on what I said here, let's discuss this in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching and see you again very soon in a proper video. Bye bye.